Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, August 5th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Marcia, if you would please call the roll.
Clark Gruber,
Here.
Larry Heinig,
Here.
Todd Heinrich,
Here.
Michael Meese,
Here.
Amy Nichols. Here. Lygie Hanny,
Here.
George Sleeper,
Here.
Janice Varney, Tim Stegman.
Here. Next up, we'll have the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, the approval of the meeting minutes for the July 8th regular meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the July 8th meeting.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the meeting minutes of the July 8th regular meeting. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item 5, interested citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda. Just a reminder, as we have 4 public hearings this evening, including this item, if you come up to speak, state your name, your address, you have 5 minutes to speak. And normally, when we have smaller groups, we try to do some Q&A if somebody at the podium asks a question. But tonight, if you ask a question, I wouldn't expect an answer in real time. One of the commissioners may answer the question during commission discussion, but that'll probably be about it. Okay? So with that, interested citizens in the audience, items not on the agenda. Is there anybody who wishes to speak?
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I am here to comment about the agenda 4B from the July 8th meeting. As you know, I had requested that the minutes be slightly amended, and I was disappointed that that request was not granted. I understand the minutes are not verbatim, but however, as you stated in the minutes and that were just approved, they do intend to capture the essence of what is said. And I believe Mr. Heinig is a civil engineer, and I was greatly disappointed that he believed that the word snow had the same, that the word snow was equally effective with regard to the word smell that occurred in the minutes when discussing the weight of material on a roof, say, of a yurt, a cottage, or a home. Smell has no weight. Snow in South Haven does have significant weight. And so I was greatly disappointed about the precedent that the Planning Commission set last month, with denial of the request to correct a simple typographical error that did have a significant impact on the meaning that I was trying to portray. And that was not done with the minutes as approved and as the minutes stand uncorrected. I am just very upset about it, and I should not be surprised because I was told by a city staff person that I would not like what he had to say, and he said if the approving body believed the minutes were accurate, they were accurate. And I do not believe that is the precedent that this body or any city body should set. It's as if I'm watching a Seinfeld sitcom where George Costanza says, if you believe it, it's true. I'm greatly disappointed. I do thank Mr. Haney for supporting my motion, but unfortunately, one person did not carry the weight, pun intended. By your last vote, you have set a very bad precedent for the city of South Haven. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. Item 6, Section 201, 1403, 1714, text amendments.
So this is a continuation of the public hearing that was opened last month on these. I'm sorry. This is the public hearing this evening on this item. This item is to amend the section, or to add the city arborist review to the site plan review process, and also to regulate outdoor barbecues and fire pits. This language was brought to the Planning Commission last month for consideration and feedback, and then upon seeing that language presented, the Planning Commission instructed staff to bring this back for a public hearing at tonight's meeting. The only updates that you'll see in there from what you saw at last month's meeting is that text that's highlighted in yellow. It's more or less just clarification text. If any commissioner would like to discuss any of that, we can have that discussion, obviously, here tonight, so.
Okay, do you guys want to talk about any of this or go right to the public hearing?
I'm all for going right to the public hearing.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I move we open the public hearing on text amendments to section 201, 1403, and 1714. I'll second that.
It's been moved and supported to open the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is open. Is there anybody that wishes to speak on item 6?
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I would like to thank Mr. Stegman for acknowledging the great catch of the typographical error of the missing "no" in the text. I had pointed that out a couple times and had included it in my written submission because I could not attend the meeting on July 8th. So I'm glad that that was finally corrected. In my other comments, unfortunately, those have not been addressed. What has been missed is that there still is inconsistent use of both permanent and outdoor. And also, although both permanent and non-permanent are supposedly addressed, all of the amendments concern only permanent. And I believe that that misses the elephant in the room, as mentioned 2 meetings ago, because one concern is the smoke from non-permanent fire pits. So with regard to some of the issues, the errors I found, so on the text on page 133 of today's agenda, it fails to align with the presentation of the definition of in 201.1A, outdoor fire pits are separate from outdoor fireplaces, but they're combined in the text on page 133. And outdoor and permanent are not consistently used. The same thing happens on pages 134 and 135 of the agenda packet under sub 7 of 201.16 under P, and again under 201.1A and 201.16. Outdoor and permanent are not consistently used. On page 135 under 201.12 under L, you've added the definition by including permanently fixed versus permanent. I think that adds ambiguity and vagueness. I think consistency is critical, as I've voiced twice before. On page 136, sub 2, 1714, you've used permanently only once in the list. Again, inconsistencies. There's been a disregard for the safety of the placement of these permanent structures and lack of reference to non-permanent. You address only to structures, you do not address to combustible material. I have provided a sample ordinance to Travis, but because the Planning Commission wanted to be trailblazers, it didn't really look at other jurisdictions, and I think it's failed to put safety first for the safety of our citizens. These changes do not address, as I said, the elephants in the room with regard to the smoke of the non-permanent fireplaces. In fact, I was talking with a resident on Monroe Boulevard where renters brought a huge mobile fire pit and placed it in the front yard right along the road, and she had to close her doors and windows because of the smoke and commotion. I ask that you please continue work on this matter because fire safety has been ignored by not including distance from combustible material and has failed to protect the tranquility of our neighborhoods by saying it will address permanent and non-permanent items, but fails to put any restrictions on the non-permanent aspects of this, which is a worse nuisance than the permanent ones, which should be able to be dealt with through the licensing and building permit process. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to agenda item 6?
Hi, I'm Mary Lynn Boogie, 70 Gabriel Drive. I think something's going to be addressed after I speak, but I just would like to point out 1714, number 4.2. You talk about the type of material that can go into the different permanent outdoor fire pits or fireplaces or whatever. And for some reason on barbecues, it's changed, and it allows the burning of logs rather than H wood, and it also allows the burning of brush, and I just didn't see the reason why there would be an inconsistency about what could be burned in either, other than, of course, you can do charcoal in a barbecue, and I understand that. I assume that this comes under the environmental aspect of the master plan. And I think one of the reasons why it came under there is because you had been receiving a number of issues regarding smoke from fire pits and how those of us that live near them have to close windows and so on and so forth. And we are entitled to have air to breathe that is not full of smoke, which can be harmful to us, particularly anyone who has COPD or any kind of a lung issue, asthma, so on and so forth. And I understand why it's not in here. And actually, I'm pleased that you didn't address smoke in here, because we would get into issues about what's been there first. So I sincerely hope that City Council will look at putting something in the general ordinance that would address smoke regarding these various things. I do appreciate the fact that we're now establishing a reasonable distance from property lines, and which will make it safer. Right now, you can fall into one when you're crossing over Monroe Boulevard, going from the east sidewalk, going from the north sidewalk to the south sidewalk. And there's a fire pit there that's only 12 inches away from the property line, which actually is not legal, but that's how it is right now. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move to close the public hearing on sections 201, 1403, and 1714 text amendments.
Support.
Todd?
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Discussion.
I guess I had a question for Nick. Nick, do you see the ambiguity in what we have written? That I mean, I know if we get two lawyers in the room, we'll get three opinions, but I just wondered what yours may be.
So I didn't have opportunity to review the commenters' comments prior to the meeting, but just looking through it as she was speaking, there is some inconsistency of permanently fixed and permanent. I think that we could clean up those items to use the same term throughout the entire ordinance, but I think that they're sufficiently similar that anyone reading it would be very unlikely to be confused by how those are used.
And I wasn't. I just wanted to make sure. And, I guess if we were to make a motion to have those within the motion put together so we had that same term throughout.
Right.
Is that something we could do in our motion?
You could, and the word, I believe the defined term is outdoor fire pit permanent. And so I would maybe motion to remove the phrasing permanently fixed and replace with just permanent. And then we can go and use the defined term throughout.
Permanently affixed, we want to change to just permanent.
Permanently fixed should not be used, yep. And then the other comment was that this is only applying, all the regulations only apply to permanent structures as opposed to non-permanent. My understanding is that was the zoning administrator's intent in drafting these. This is a regulation of structures, as opposed to things that can be easily moved around the property.
Correct. Thank you.
Anyone else? Are you drafting a motion?
Yeah, I wrote something down to hopefully draft a motion for you.
Okay. You need more time.
I may need just a second to make sure I got the right. I guess I would make a motion to approve the proposed text amendments as presented. And also changing the permanently fixed to permanent. And then forward those proposed amendments on to City Council for consideration.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. Marcia, if you call the roll.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Heinrich,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Hanny,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item 7, 229 Elkenberg Street rezoning application.
Okay, this is the continuation of the public hearing that was opened last month and held open until this meeting. This is an application that the city is filing jointly with the Habitat Corporation to rezone the property known as the Overton property from I-1 light industrial to RM1 multifamily residential. Again, the public hearing was opened at last month's meeting. This is a continuation of the hearing. Any public comment obviously is welcomed at tonight's meeting. And following the public hearing, staff would then request action from the Planning Commission if the Planning Commission desires to take action tonight.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to reopen.
I'll make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
I support.
It's been moved and supported to reopen the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing's open. And just as a reminder, your agenda packet includes correspondence received except for today and yesterday, maybe a couple others. And I've got a quick cheat sheet for this. Opposed, we have Ann Bachnowski and David Bachnowski, Mary Hosley, and Bill Rupro. That's 4. In favor, Julia Ludwig, Kim Selfin, Forrest Ostell, Carol Hodgman, Don Hodgman, Jeffrey Dick, Wendy Anuki, Joan Hiddema, Mark Placotti, Beverly Brown, Debbie Malias, John Varese, Julia Combs, Rosalie Placotti. There's 14. And neither for or against was correspondence from Ellen Lyons. Okay, with that said, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on 229 Elkenberg Street rezoning application?
Thank you. I'm Dan Agnello, 964 Everett Parkway. I would like to address the letter that was sent out, the notice, and also the inconsistencies or the problems with the Overton project as it relates to the zoning ordinance. First of all, the zoning letter indicated that there are single-family, or there is multiple RM1 to the west, which is the factory lofts, and to the south, which is Trailside. But they never mentioned the fact that the north houses and the east houses are R1A, and the 3 lots recently got rezoned the lots in the northeast corner of Overton property got rezoned last year from I-1 to R1A that are in the northeast corner of the Overton property. So the letter was misleading because it said it slanted in the direction of bias toward rezoning this property. It did not mention all 4 sections, the north and eastern sections are residential. And Trailside is RM1 for all 4 sections that the developer owns. But the master plan, 2018, shows that still as residential 1A as far as what the plan had to do with that building. Also, the rezoning ordinance as it applies to Overton. Article 5, Section 500 says RM1 intent is designed to accommodate those types of low-rise multiple-family structures which are similar in terms of use and structural character to the single-family and two-family dwellings. The townhomes do, but three-story apartment buildings do not. There are no duplexes, 3-story buildings, 2-story buildings anywhere in that neighborhood within a mile radius, except one apartment building on top of the lofts, okay? That's a 2-story building with a 1-bedroom apartment on top. The next article, Section 500, Paragraph 2, they will contain private interior open space or private common exterior open spaces. This refers to RM1. Overton has no interior open spaces, and it has very limited outdoor green spaces if you look at the total plan, okay? Article 5, Section 500, Paragraph 3, the transition between non-residential and lower density family districts. It may in fact accomplish this, but I don't know how it does it, but the limited need for the apartment type unit is an otherwise single family community. There is nothing in that area except single family buildings, okay? The high density apartments do not fit within this area. That's what I'm against, the high density. I'm not against this project at all. It's the high density. 144 units in a little over 6 acres does not fit in this area. Also, Article 5, Section 501, use regulations. The ingress and egress directly into a major or minor thoroughfare. That's what's supposed to happen with the RM1, except if the PC determines there's no detriment to the harmonious development of the adjacent properties. This will greatly affect trailside development, I feel, by way of traffic, density, profile, etc. Article 5, Section 502, area regulation. For the final phases, the lot area coverage for the buildings must be less than 30%. I don't know what the percentage of buildings right now is in the Overton project, but it's got to be less than 30%. I know the city, I think it's like 40 or 45 on those lots. So what I'm saying is, in summary, is that the notice is misleading. It's biased toward the rezoning. It does not take into account all 4 northeast, southwest zoning areas right next to it. And again, the density is too high. I mentioned this in the last 2 meetings, the April 27th meeting and the June 21st meeting, that the density is too high. Build your two-story units in the north end, and that's what Habitat said they can make money with 60 apartment buildings, and build your condos or your townhomes in the south end, and have all those condos for sale, all 48 of them. People wanted to buy houses, but it's ended up that all but 24 townhomes are for rent, okay? So the density, the parking, and what I'm saying is the development as shown does not warrant rezoning from I-1 to RM1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone else?
Lisa Beck, 879 Monroe Boulevard. I've been to all the planning commissions meetings on this, and I think you probably already know where I stand on it, but I'll repeat it. One thing I would like to point out is you mentioned the letters that you received in favor, but before the last meeting you received what you called a mix of letters, which I then followed up on, and almost all 12 of those were against this development. So I think that needs to be said. I agree with everything that the gentleman before me said. The density is just too much. We are not against developing that land, but we are in favor of developing it how it was shown to the community in 2018 and what was approved. The apartment buildings do not go with the area. I think that people should have a chance to buy homes. We have a lot of renters, in this town, as you know already, part-timers, all that kind of stuff. I'm curious to see how they're going to keep those apartment buildings from being rented by other people or for the summer and stuff like that. Who's going to police it? If you look at Habitat's reputation online under Yelp or apartments.com, Ds and Fs for maintenance, that's not something we probably want in the community. I think we should give people a chance to buy homes that they want to live in, not apartment buildings, a lot of which are, I'm going to be incorrect on the exact size, but I believe it's around 540 square feet, which is like a garage. I don't think people want to live that way. So I'm against this for that reason. The density, we were promised a traffic study on Indiana that, I don't know what happened to that. We haven't heard anything. There's been no study on that at all. The density, the parking, is not even what is fair for the city or on the books. It's only 1.4, I think it is, parking spaces. There's just not enough. And 144 units on 6 acres is just too high density. You've seen them building on Trailside where the basements that they've been digging are filled up with water when there's been no rain. The infrastructure can't take it either. So we need to think about who's going to pay for all those changes as well. So I am against the current plan, not against the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please come up. And if somebody intends on speaking after him, please be ready to come up.
David Veenstra, 1220 Monroe Boulevard. I just want to take a moment to say that I've appreciated the process, and we've been to many of the meetings and the presentations, and I thought they've been thorough. I do recognize that there are people that have legitimate concerns about this, and I just wanted to take a minute to address some of those concerns that I've heard. One of them is the high density and the fact that it's just a 3-story building. This is not the only 3-story building in the city. Also, short-term rentals create very high density, especially in this season, very high density. And many of those are out of proportion to the neighborhoods. So this is, I've heard that objection. That's hardly unique in this city. There's nothing inherently wrong with high density. The Warren Senior Center is high density. In fact, high density can make a much better use of resources and infrastructure than low density. Affordability and high density are related. They're correlated. So you can have lower density. It's going to cost more. Another objection that I've heard is lack of adequate parking. The developer, as I understand it, has done many of these projects and says it's typical for this type of building. Also, this will be evaluated and revisited after phase 1 of the project, is my understanding. Another objection that I've heard is lack of green space. There is some green space, but there's also access to the Calhaven Trail, and it's just blocks from the kids' corner and the beach and the splash pad. So if you want to see housing without green space, you can take a walk along North Beach and walk through some of those areas. There's no green space in there, but there's fairly easy access to the beach, the pier, and so on. Another objection is that the property is polluted. This has been addressed many times. The project cannot go forward until completion of an environmental assessment and any required remediation. That's my understanding. Thank you.
I'm Annie Brown, 114 Michigan Avenue. I'm asking you to support the change in zoning of the Overton site to multifamily residential to allow the proposed housing development. One of the reasons that I've lived here for 36 years is because the people of South Haven who live here year-round, who keep the lights on during the winter, and who keep us on the map are welcoming to strangers. In fact, being welcoming and including all people is so important to our city council that it was one of the first questions the council members asked candidates for city manager. How will you make South Haven welcoming and inclusive? they asked. The proposed housing development at the Overton site is an example of how South Haven welcomes and invites a diverse group of people to live here. We need housing for our city employees, teachers, firefighters, and EMTs. As a former school board member, I have heard about highly qualified teachers who were offered a job here in South Haven but turned it down because they could not find an affordable place to live. Before you talk to me about the negative aspects of living next door to housing that may be affordable for families who are middle class or to people whose children receive free lunch, let me remind you of some of the people we know who have benefited from low-income or affordable housing projects in South Haven. Van Buren County Commissioner Gail Patterson Gladney, Watervliet City Manager Tyler Dotson, Nate Barnes, a South Haven native whose hit song, "You Ain't Pretty," can be heard on the radio, Director of Transportation for South Haven Public Schools, Amy Wallentine. And because Amy found housing in South Haven schools received more than $100,000 over the years that her daughters attended South Haven Public Schools. And one of her daughters went on to attend Notre Dame University. When we provide more affordable housing in South Haven for families with children, our schools directly benefit financially through the per pupil foundation allowance. You've heard some things about this project that are just plain wrong. First, you've heard people say that this project will cause too much traffic. A survey by the Sierra Club found that when neighborhood density increases, vehicle miles decreased by 20 to 30%. In the last 35 years, I have never seen any traffic congestion around any housing developments in South Haven. You've heard tonight that the parking plan is inadequate. Multifamily developments have lower car ownership rates than single-family homes. And if you're troubled by inadequate parking, you must be really upset by being unable to walk down the sidewalk when there are 6 cars parked in a driveway of a summer rental and blocking the sidewalk. Another myth we are hearing: people who live in affordable housing won't fit into my neighborhood. They will hurt the charm of South Haven. The people in South Haven who need housing, let me remind you, are charming police officers, sheriff's deputies, nurses, firefighters, teachers, and parapros. I really think the people who are complaining about this need to meet the residents and get to know them first. I know 2 of the people who complained to me personally about the Overton site development have experienced life-altering tragedies in their families. From them, I am asking for empathy. When tragedies happen, people often face an immediate need of affordable housing. Life happens fast. We are all one heartbeat, one for sale sign away from needing a 1-bedroom apartment with affordable rent. From all of you, I'm asking for compassion for people who are working their butts off in our restaurants, in schools, and in public safety. They deserve the right to have affordable housing in our city. Thank you.
Paul Johnson, 858 St. Joseph Street. Topic I want to bring up is...
Might want to raise your mic.
Pardon?
Might want to raise your mic.
There you go. You hear me okay now?
Yeah.
So what I want to bring up is long terms. This is a long-term decision, not 5 years, 10 years, 20, 30 years. Has anybody gone and done any research to these establishments by this company and looked at their history or visited their facilities that are 5, 10, 20 years old? That's my question. So as we look at a long-term decision, we want to partner up with a company that will make an environment that will be withheld for a long-term, 5, 10, and 20 years. Whether it's here, Chicago, or wherever they're at, that's what I would encourage. Let's look at the who we're partnering with and see if they're going to be a long-term player that will support what we have going on in South Haven for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Thank you.
Danielle Veenstra, 1220 Monroe Boulevard. I moved to this city because I felt welcomed. I didn't know anyone 3 years ago when we moved here. I now have a large circle of friends. I want to offer that welcome to new people, people of all different economic standings, jobs, retired, just starting out, single moms. Annie Brown talked about people being maybe one paycheck away from disaster, and I've been there. I know that sometimes you simply need a little boost. You need somebody to say, I've got a $600 a month apartment or an $800 a month apartment if you've got 2 bedrooms. No, they're not all 540 square feet, the size of a garage. I have been in Grand Rapids, which is the city of my birth, where a lot of habitat projects are, in surprising places, places that were empty when I left the city 8 years ago. And I drive along and all of a sudden I look and I think, wait a minute, the gentleman from Habitat showed us that photo. And I stop my car and I look. Because does it exactly fit the neighborhood? No, but it is the coolest looking building in that block. They've thoughtfully blended what was there with the new. I believe there was atrium space inside. There were open gathering spaces inside the buildings. So what I'm hearing a lot of negative comments are, I don't want those, and I'm not even sure who those might be, people living in my neighborhood. People that maybe don't have as much money as you do. People who maybe work in the restaurant and you want them to live in another city. I don't understand the fear that's underlying the negative comments. When we are a city of tourism, we're a city of friendliness, and want to be a city of inclusion. So I am fully in favor of the Overton project being carefully and thoughtfully continued. Thank you.
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I'll try to loop back to the rezoning purpose. I do not believe RM1 fits in the overall scheme of things. I think it's too broad for the surrounding areas. And to say that we don't know what's going to go in there, I think is an insult to our intelligence. The application was jointly filed by the city and the developer, with whom the city is negotiating a purchase agreement. So I do not think anyone can really say that we don't know what's going in there, especially based also on the comments everyone's been saying. So for support for the RM1, it indicates it's a transition period, a transition zone, but there isn't a transition zone needed. Most of it's residential. The 2018 master plan indicates it's almost all residential, except for a small part that's attached urban housing and some greenway that is in between the very low density factory condos and the Overton property that's being considered right now. Also, recent precedents with regard to the rezoning of the St. Joseph 3 properties to R1A just on July 8th before the Planning Commission and recently before the City Council this week. And just about over a year ago, in June 2020, the Planning Commission was asked to rezone 229 Elkenberg with regard to the plot of land that was owned by another entity, Mr. Shabatek. And in the public notice, it said it is surrounded by single-family residential to the north and east. And that notice is significantly different than the notice for 229 Elkenberg for this property. And I believe that the notice is inaccurate and misleading and does not put the public on fair notice as to what exactly is before the council and what is planned. The present notice is not proper. It fails to say that it's adjacent to R1B, that's to the north, includes R1A within it to the east, and although the trailside property is RM1, the master plan indicates it's to be residential, and with the zoning PUD changes that this planning commission has allowed, it is really all single family. The duplexes are gone. And there's just no basis for this parcel to be RM1 based on the surrounding zoning, based on the master plan of the zoning proposed, future land use plan, and based on recent zoning changes for the St. Joseph property and the 3 properties at 229 Elkenberg, but along Indiana that were sold recently. And I still think that the application fails. There's insufficiencies. Although the city has allowed applications to proceed without complying with the ordinance, 2 wrongs don't make a right. The application fails to provide the required legal description and fails to provide the reasons. The city staff report provides the reasons, but it was never incorporated into the application. The application, to the best of my knowledge, based on a discussion this afternoon or this morning with people in the zoning administration office, it is still 1 page. That is not sufficient. And that is also consistent with what's in the zoning packet. Just because the city is a co-applicant, that does not give the city the right to ignore their own ordinances. They do not have to enforce the ordinances. They may not have enforced them before, but as I said, 2 wrongs don't make a right. With this controversial issue, the city should be taking extra precaution to dot I's and cross T's, and that has not been done. Although there's an allegation that the city does not even have to have a hearing, I do not believe that is the situation in this situation where the city is rezoning in order to have a purchase agreement with a for-profit development company. So I do believe a hearing is needed. I do believe notice needs to be proper, and I do not believe either has been met. I also do not believe that the fee should have been waived. Although one of the applicants is a city, the other applicant is a for-profit development company. I believe the fee should have been required. The fee has not been paid. This is improperly before the Planning Commission. And I do not believe the city should be given any inference of transparency because to date that has not happened. The city manager stood before the city council on June 7th, the same day the jointly filed application was submitted, and did not mention it. In response to my inquiries, I was told that an application would be filed and heard within the next few months. That was on June 14th, a week after the jointly filed application. The existence of this jointly filed application was omitted from answers that were vague and subsequently shown to be contradicted by the facts. The rezoning is still not properly before the Planning Commission at this time and should be adjourned. The city has failed to be transparent to warrant any inference of compliance. The citizens deserve more. With regard to some of the comments, with regard to the parking, the developer, most of it is in Chicago or other areas where they provided information to me was high-end condos. So I have yet to have any objective data to support the parking. And in Chicago, where they've done a lot of their subsidized type housing or lower rent housing, there's mass transit. Although we have public van, that is not the same as mass transit. Green space, according to the planned unit development requires, needs to be on site. Relying on other surrounding areas is a dereliction of the obligation of the city to make sure the planned unit development has proper green space. Affordable housing needs to be quality housing. I would not want our first responders, be it police, hospital people, and our dedicated teachers to have to live in a small one-bedroom apartment. And with regard to families, it's been very unfortunate that the plan so far has decreased the number of two-bedroom apartments, increased the number of one-bedroom apartments. The one-bedroom apartments are currently 75%, and three bedrooms are a mere 9%. The other is the two-bedroom. With regard to traffic, I would say that if the study is not done in a rural community where people are heavily dependent on cars, it's irrelevant and not comparable. Affordable housing affecting the charm of the city is mischaracterization. It's the volume of people, being able to provide services for them. We've had sewage overflow because of drainage being improper. This will add a huge outflow of water runoff, and the bioswales may help that, but can't be used as green space. And we want not only affordable, but quality housing for our first responders and our teachers and our medical profession and our police and everybody else who supports our community. With regard to the developer, I echo the previous comments about looking at their long-term effect, but you need to look at their management of housing where there's government funds involved and rent controlled or rent subsidized. The terminology is all different now depending on what funds you go for, but it's all the same. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Dan Agnello again, 964 Everett Parkway. I just want to clarify, what I said is that there's no three-story buildings in the area. There's three-story, four-story buildings all over town, and you can't build a building higher than 30 feet, and that's the ordinance. And also, Overton does not meet ordinance 20 for parking, okay? I don't care what they say, 1.2, 1.4, 1.1. They don't meet, if they had to have parking per ordinance 20, the city ordinance, they would have to have 310 parking spaces on 144 units. Right now, at the last meeting, it said, oh, we listened to your comments. We went from 178 to 195, okay? They don't meet ordinance 20. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Wendy Onuki, 315 Prospect Street. I did send a letter earlier, but I just also wanted to say if we strip away all of these details that have yet to be ironed out and focus on what today is supposed to be about, which is a zoning change, I just really don't see any reason why we can't move forward with moving from industrial to residential. And it makes sense that that space is for multiple families instead of single-family homes. So I hope we can proceed forward with this project and do it in a thoughtful way that takes considerations of everyone's, opinions and really does it very thoughtfully and considerate of that area. So that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Kay Engelbrecht, 125 Elkenberg Street. Pardon me? Kay Engelbrecht, 125 Elkenberg Street. I'd like to address a few comments that have been made earlier first. As far as the comments about that people who perhaps would live in this development wouldn't fit in my neighborhood, or those people, I have never heard those comments mentioned in conversations that I have had about this development. And so I'm not sure where those comments have come from. But if anyone that I have spoken with have given that impression, I apologize. But that is not what the people that I have spoken to have meant or have had in their minds. Everyone that I have spoken to are in favor of the development of that property as affordable housing. What we're concerned with is the plan as it is being shown to us at this time. The other thing that I'd like to clarify is the comments that were made about high density in the North Beach residential area, and that there are 6 cars parked in front of summer rentals. Those are areas that are occupied during the summer. Those are not areas that are occupied year-round for people who want to live here and work here full-time and send their kids to school year-round. That's a difference. My contacts with residents have shown me that almost everyone supports affordable housing in the Overton site, provided the site is environmentally safe for residents. The housing remains a mix of ownership and rental opportunities to encourage long-term residents in South Haven. And the units are designed and sized to be something any of us would be happy to live in. When we were first starting out our careers, when we had children, or as we are in our retirement ages. The housing should not be radically changed from what was presented and discussed in 2019 when we were having the meetings at the high school, and possible floor plans and designs were being shown to us by Ryan Kilpatrick. They should not be changed to meet the needs of the current proposed developer. It should meet the needs of the South Haven community and the employers who are hoping to hire and retain employees by being able to show them the availability of desirable, affordable housing. Housing that offers comfortable-sized units and visual appeal designed to belong in a predominantly single-home residential neighborhood, not a large 3-story dorm-looking building. There should be generous green space as well as parking to meet current code requirements. Habitat has had success with units and developments that they have made with 1.3 or 1.4 parking spaces. But those are in areas that have a lot of mass transit available. In Chicago, in Grand Rapids, we don't have sufficient mass transit to assure people can get to work at Meijer, at Walmart, at places when different shifts are happening. We live in a community where people need cars for their transportation, to get their kids to school, to get them to work, to get them to sporting events. This is a place where people need cars. Please postpone indefinitely or deny this zoning change request until there is a consensus between the city, the council, the commissioners, and the community of what would be best for the city of South Haven, not the current proposed developer. Let there be additional developers who propose a different type of housing for this site, perhaps a local developer who has more of a feel for what this community needs. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Travis, meanwhile, last meeting I had you put up a zoning map. Do you still have that available? Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Please come up. Did you already speak? I did. All right. Please wait till everybody else has spoken. Yeah. No one else? No. All right. Did the board want to let a second round repeat, or would you like to close the public hearing? Who was the second one?
Well,
The guy across the aisle from the White House.
Oh, yeah. come up.
I say let him go.
This will be the last one then, unless there's somebody new.
Thank you. Very briefly, mass transit versus public transit. Grand Rapids was mentioned. I used to live in Grand Rapids, used to take public transit. I had to walk 3 to 6 blocks to get there, and probably 6 to 8 blocks on the other end, and then 6 blocks back, another 3 blocks. Here, what we have is not mass transit, is better. It's door to door. Also, summer versus year-round, mentioning that the traffic is only here in the summer. That's when we have the heavy traffic. I don't see the winter traffic as being nearly as big of a concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think that's it for this evening's public comments.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries, public hearing's closed. All right. Now, we have heard a lot of comment about a proposed project, and as you know, we have not had a project come before us. Some on this board may or may not have seen the plans that were developed when City Council did an RFP, request for proposals. I know myself and Mike represented the Planning Commission when the RFP was done. And of the 3 developers that actually put in proposals, I think I was one of the few that the current one that was chosen by City Council to work with, I preferred a different one that had a different plan. And I think one of the comments I said when we did the Q&A with all the developers was about parking. And I mentioned that because when a plan, if zoning is done and a plan comes forward, that is one thing I personally will look at very, very closely, is the density and the amount of parking. So with that said, the real question at hand is about whether to allow a rezoning. Now, I assume the LDFA has done their diligence and said, we do not want this as a light industrial area anymore. And I think for some of the people in the audience, the legitimate argument would be not to the Planning Commission, but to the City Council, and ask them why they didn't decide to plat it off as R1A, R1B, and sell the lots at market rate. And I assume the answer that will be given is because the city did a study, and the study and the talking with a lot of the citizens is we need housing that is more affordable than just lotting it off and selling market rate. But that is the argument I would make to City Council if you want a different type of development, is why don't you just sell the property outright? Okay, so that's my 2 cents, and now commission, whatever you want to debate about.
Well, would you like a motion first and then debate?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Want to do open discussion, or you can do a motion.
Well, we're certainly looking at the rezoning and not the Habitat project. It is currently I-1 light industrial. There is no plans that I'm aware of, the LDFA, to continue with that as light industrial. RM1 gives the greatest flexibility to the city with regards to a type of project. RM1 is what's right next door, and the factory condos, RM1 is right next door at the Everett Park. Everett Park overall project of all the phases had single-family home, duplex, apartment, even commercial. It's pretty amazing PUD when you look at that, and that's what was approved. Now, the current developer has come to us, wanted to convert duplexes to single-family. And I think we allowed him to do that. We also mentioned to him, you know, you've got some higher density opportunities here within this overall project. You know, we want to see that because that can provide some affordability over the single family. And I think it's in the public record, the developer did say that, you know, in the coming phases, that would be considered. We'll talk about that later because that developer's come forward, and not only did they take the duplexes, turn them into single family, then they added more single family on the same phase. Now they want to take 9 duplexes in the next phase and convert those to single family. And that's something we will have a discussion on. So I think the RM1 is the right way to go. City Council's looked at this. It's been in our planning document from long-term to look at some type of housing project, and I'm certainly going to recommend that to City Council.
I just want to agree with what Clark is saying. I don't see this going back to an industrial area. It's surrounded by residents. RM1 gives us the most flexibility. We are basically providing a recommendation to City Council. City Council will basically give their stamp of approval or not. But I know I'm very much in favor of rezoning this to an RM1.
And I just wanted to add, too, the proposals that Tim and I had a chance to look at, each of them would have required rezoning to RM1. It was not dependent upon the developer that was chosen by the City Council. So I basically agree with everything you said, Clark. I don't see how we're ever going to approach anything that's near affordable to a full-time worker at Walmart or a full-time worker at Meijer without the option of having multiple family residences there. So I'm in favor of the rezoning to RM1.
I ditto, again, everything that you say, yeah, I think that it's an opportunity that we have to really address one of the biggest issues we have right now. And, you know, my daughter ended up north because her boyfriend got a teaching job, and the only reason that he took the teaching job was because the school secretary texted him and said, I have an apartment attached to my house you can live in. And now they live in Onekama. She has a job. It's that kind of thing. We have to have those opportunities for to bring those young teachers here. And shoot, we grow a lot of teachers here. We should have that chance to bring them back here. They need somewhere to live. I think it's great.
I agree with pretty much everything that everyone has said here. I just don't see how we can get to affordability without a higher density. And I understand the concerns with the higher density, but I also understand how difficult it is for a young person finishing college, trying to get a good start, who loves South Haven, who has to make a very difficult decision to leave a place that they love because they don't have a place to stay. And I believe this is a great opportunity for those young people to come back home. Like Ms. Nichols just said, you know, our young people deserve an opportunity to come back home. We grow great teachers, we grow great kids here in this community, and I would love an opportunity for them to come back home and continue to grow this community into even a better community than it already is. So I think RM1 is a great start in that, and I look forward to the opportunity to see where this project goes.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend to City Council that the property at 229 Elkenberg Street be rezoned from I-1 to RM1.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to rezone. Any other discussion? No? All right, one last point, and the reason I asked for that map to be put up there is when it comes to zoning with the Planning Commission, independent of what could be coming, and most likely is coming down the road as a future development, we as commissioners have to look at the property and what surrounds it. And if you look at the purple, magenta, whatever you want to call it, you have the yellow to the north and the brown color to the left and to the bottom. And when you look at that, you say, well, it can be either one of those, right? And in this case, you're saying with RM1, it gives more possibilities, which is very true. So, as I said, for those that oppose this particular project, I think your one argument is to say to the city council, sell it, lot it off different than having the RM1 classification. But as the planning commission goes, we have an applicant requesting a certain type of zoning. And for us to deny them, I think it'd be tough because that property is surrounded on two sides by RM1. Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote and we'll do a roll call.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Heinrich,
Yes.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Hanny,
Yes.
Stegman.
Yes. Okay. Item 8 is the New Everett Park Phase 2 PUD amendment, and we will need to reopen a public hearing.
I make a motion to reopen the public hearing on the New Everett Park Phase 2 PUD amendment.
I second.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Is there anyone that would like to speak to item 8?
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I request that what happens from this hearing is that much more information is requested. The staff report indicates much information is missing and in fact provides a list of items on page 155 of the agenda packet. Most importantly, to avoid setting bad precedent and to ensure proper density and support for any PUD amendment, I request the Planning Commission request a parallel plan under sections 13032, 13065, especially in light of the PUD having been amended 2 times, with the most recent amendment destroying green space that was in the original plan, resulting in trees being destroyed, wildlife being killed or made homeless as evidence of what descriptions of people who saw it happen. Any benefit given for open space must be addressed with this PUD revision because of the destruction of the green space from the original. At the time when everyone is saying development is out of control and we need green space, it is incumbent on the Planning Commission to ensure usable green space is provided, and where destroyed, an acceptable alternative must be put in place and ordinances followed. Moreover, the original PUD had apartments and senior housing, item South Haven desperately needs per discussion already tonight. With all the modifications to date, it's time to put brakes on and make sure that this revised PUD meets the requirements and provides the details needed to make sure the reasoned decision occurs, and that it's not for the benefit of the developer, but for the benefit of our citizens. Furthermore, because of the various amendments, there should be no precedents to allow the previously approved setback modifications. The PUD had much more for the community than the homes that are being short-term rental. It's time to put the brakes on these developments for mainly second home owners and short-term rentals. As we've already heard, we need affordable homes, and that means duplexes and whatnot. And this PUD has now changed that and continues to request such changes, and that needs to be reined in. This is most important for green space as noticed in the PUD requirements mentioned on page 156 of the agenda packet. Because green space has been destroyed, their overall usable green space needs to be addressed with any future PUD amendment, including the one under 1305 and 1306. Any self-serving comment that a developer will do the right thing is completely contradicted by recent actions. We already know he does not, and the city has failed to monitor. The best example is the removal of the contaminated soil and the digging of holes where open space used to exist. The developer said he was with complying with the due care plan. The city took his word for it. Because I said I didn't think so, I followed through and spoke with Eagle. The next day, netting was delivered and a fence erected to keep children out of these deep holes, and contaminated soil was covered because of my actions, not because of the city. Contaminated soil remains there, and I even had to make an emergency call on July 5th and got people out there to get samples covered before vacationers came for the holiday weekend. The citizens have had to protect themselves because the city is bowing to the developers. It's time the city and the elected officials and appointed board members protect the citizens. The first step is requiring a parallel plan for the revised PUD, taking into consideration all the modifications to date and those proposed, ensuring proper density issues are addressed, ample green space is provided. Anything less will be a dereliction of duty. The city owes the citizens more.
Anyone else?
Dan Agnello again, 964 Everett Parkway. I live in Phase 1 of Trailside, right across from the trail. And you talked about the zoning. Right now, those new houses that are going in on Everett across the street from me, the 2 houses on the east side of Indiana, and I think it's 11 houses on St. Joseph's are single family. The developer is going to have some multiple family, but they're going to be duplexes. There's not, in the immediate plans the next couple of years, there's not going to be any 2-story apartment buildings or senior housing or anything like that, okay? That's all I want to address. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, so the documentation's incomplete at this time, and the developer, there's still quite a few things they have to provide to us. What?
Did the developer reach out to us today?
He did. The developer would prefer to present on this after he viewed the staff report, once he has addressed those issues that were identified.
Mm-hmm. So this will have to wait till the next meeting, so I'll entertain a motion to close and postpone the public hearing to September 2nd, I believe.
Close,
Leave,
postpone, or do we just
postpone.
postpone?
Leave the public hearing open until.
Well, yeah, we can do it that way, too.
I think we can.
That's the way we
Oh,
did it. That's
yeah.
what we did.
Go
it
ahead,
with the
Larry.
previous ones. I move that we leave the public hearing open until our next meeting in September.
Very good.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to leave the hearing open until the
September 2nd.
2nd of September. Any other discussion?
Just quickly.
Yes.
I apologize. I spent time on this. PUDs kind of allowed developers some opportunities over what would be considered a normal project. And for that ability to do a PUD, a lot of time municipalities kind of see benefits on the other side. You know, what's the benefit back to the community? This original PUD, as Mary had mentioned as well, was a mixed use of single-family duplex, apartment, senior, even commercial, if you look at the original PUD. Recently, single duplexes were converted to single-family homes. We allowed that to happen. He mentioned in the future, next phases, I'll be looking at denser duplexes. Well, then he came back to us again, and he wants to put up 4 new houses in an area that presently on the PUD was green space and retention pond. We allowed that to happen. Now he's going to come to us on phase 2, and he's going to take 9 duplexes, turn those into single-family homes, and expand some additional single-family homes on another part that was, in fact, that way in the original plan. So There's even documentation of working with Dissett where he explained, phases 2 through 5, I'm going to look at more affordable housing. So I am hoping when the individual comes back, there's some extra thought to, once again, converting 9 duplex type condominium, whatever that is, into more affordable, something a little different than, once again, single-family homes. Because I think what we're going to find is that entire property is going to be one ask after another just to turn that into single-family homes. And I'm not sure if in 2006, in the original development, the thought was how profitable selling investment properties of single-family homes that can be short-term rentals all summer long, when I think someone else here said tonight, which was wonderful, this only happens in the summer, parking issues, not during the year where we have children and families that go to our schools. And I think that's what we're looking for, is more housing opportunities for children and families to go to our schools. Because Annie even mentioned that's over $7,000 per student per seat. I don't care how much tax dollars a short-term rental brings in. If kids don't show up and sit down in a seat and get counted twice a year, we don't get those dollars back. Some other community gets those foundation dollars. Thank you.
Just a clarification, it's $8,000.
8,000 inflation.
Yeah, I think that these two proposals, Overton, obviously we're in the beginning phases of that, and Trailside there's a lesson there, and it's an instructive that let's not repeat Trailside. We're in a unique position, the city is, to partner and create deed restrictions that would restrict or restrict the ability for the owners to rent these as short-term rentals. Again, Overton is a unique opportunity because we own it. We can partner with whom we want, and we have a lot of leverage. And we can find somebody who isn't marginally capitalized. We can find somebody who can complete the project as they propose. I looked at these two proposals back and forth over the last couple of days, and there's something to be learned from Trailside that can be applied to Overton.
I also appreciate the rich history we have on this particular POD as well. By the way, the staff, I thought you documented it well in the packet, but I'm not real quick to jump away from the original intent of 2006. If we are indeed a land use, and someone mentioned it earlier, we got to be thinking long term. Well, in 2006, perhaps they were thinking long term, and it does say there's a 45-unit senior housing on the property, and it does call out the mixed use, the duplexes, and the attempt to gain some affordable housing. So maybe back in 2006 we saw this day coming. So I'm not so quick to say I'd be willing to sacrifice that vision based on current market conditions.
Yeah. Well, and maybe what we saw back there is not what's in front of facing us today. We are, after all, I'm the second owner of this property.
That's quite
And
correct.
maybe the third is just down the road.
That's correct.
Well, and then to speak to the history of that is when I was on city council, and part of that purchase agreement, and I'm actually proud of this, is that I convinced council to pull out the railroad right-of-way, which is the bike trail, because what would have happened is the developer would have gotten the whole piece of property and then wanted to sell that strip back to us, which they didn't get a chance to do, thankfully. So with that, we've had a motion, it's been supported, we've had some discussion. Is there any further discussion? No. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Now we get to the new business. And item 9, 420 Quaker Street, special land use application. Travis, why don't you give us a little rundown on this one?
This is an application from Mr. James Slott of Elios Investments to use this site as an event center intended to host events similar to rehearsal dinners, birthday parties, graduation parties, celebrations of life, etc. The applicant is proposing this use as a catering, or that this be used as a catering style kitchen. So suggesting that they're not going to have food prep on site, but that it'll be used as a gathering space, and then caterers with appropriate licenses will then provide food and beverage for attendees. This use, it was applied for as being most similar under the listed uses, the list of approved uses in the Central Business District, as being most similar to a private club. However, staff, in consultation with the city attorney, determined that this more closely resembles a restaurant probably, and that probably would be a better way to classify it. A private club I would likely be associated with some sort of a fraternal organization or some other established group that would likely have ownership or use of the property. This is an establishment generally intended for gathering and the consumption of food and beverage. The list of approved uses in the Central Business District includes similar uses to a restaurant as approved through the special use process. And so this is why this item is before you tonight. There is a representative, I believe, here of the applicant here to speak to the Planning Commission this evening. And if they'd like to come up to the podium, I'll allow them to have that discussion with you.
Good evening. My name is Becky Page. I'm with Holland Engineering, civil engineer for the project. And with me tonight is Nicole Slott with Elios Investments and Jason Nyheis with Pioneer Construction. Thank you, Travis, for a very thorough report that addresses many of the aspects of this development. I'm not going to repeat what he has already summarized within his report, but more going to add some clarifications in additions to that. The proposed use is an event center. We do concur that it is probably more typical to a restaurant type use. There is not exact use within the zoning ordinance, so trying to find that exact use was not as specific, I guess. So there are similar uses that are allowed, and so we are applying for that under the zoning application.
Could I get you to pause for just a second? Travis, would you put up page 269? Just so everybody has something to look at regarding this agenda item. Okay, sorry to cut you off.
As mentioned, this would be a use where special events would be held, such as family gatherings, birthday parties, rehearsal dinners, celebration of life gatherings, would be catered events. It would be repurposing an existing building and an existing space within the Central Business District that will complement other uses within this district. And some of the patrons may also utilize some of the other services available within the Central Business District as well. There was some comment about how would loading and unloading be happening for things such as catering. The plan would be that they would access the building through the front door. There is a area in front of the building that is not designated as parking that we believe is could be used for loading and unloading during event or prior to events and after events. Regarding signage, I think there is a plan to have maybe a small sign for the business that's not fully been determined or decided at this time, only that it would meet the city zoning ordinance, and a sign permit application would be applied for prior to anything being placed. Regarding the rooftop use, the rooftop is planned to be utilized during events. It would be utilized as a casual space, maybe a place to go get fresh air, have some social conversations, and it would be open during events. Regarding lighting, there's not a plan for any major alterations to lighting, maybe more to add ambient or safety purposes type of lighting. So with that, if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them for you.
you guys have any immediate questions before we go to a public hearing? Because we can have her and the rest come back up. Let's do that. Is that good? Okay. Larry, you're my go-to public hearing opener.
I move that we open the public hearing on 420 Quaker Street.
Second.
It's been moved and supported to open the public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Anybody that wishes to speak to this item?
I'm Garrett. 414 Quaker Street, which is right next to this property, shares a wall. I want to thank Travis for supplying me with detailed information, which was very informative. So what I did is I wrote some questions as I went through here. It's a 3-page. I don't even look at the 3rd page, does not have any questions that I have. So I just want to use this as a guide, if that's okay, to ask my questions. So the proposed site is going to be an existing area, about 3,200 square feet, including the building. And so my immediate question, well, in the next paragraph, they said how they're expecting between 50 and 100 people in this event center. So 3,200 square feet, I don't know what the fire department regulation is on how many people you can get in that square footage. Is it 100 people? I'm right next to that area. It doesn't look like you could fit 100 people without using the roof, which is a whole nother issue with the condo people, owners next door. So that would be the first thing. How many people are really allowed to be in that building by the fire code? Okay. Is it 100? Is it only 50? So that's the first question. Hours of operation. What's the closing? Is it 2 a.m. like the Michigan alcohol regulation is? Are people going to be on the roof partying till 2 o'clock in the morning? Since drinking will be allowed because of the catering of food and alcohol. We know that. So those are a couple questions that we would like answered, because we're a small condo, okay? We all sit on the balcony and look over at the river in the evening. And were you able to load those pictures I sent you? Okay, I'll get to them in a little bit. I just wanted to know I can bring those up at some point.
I can pull them up for you.
Okay, we're not there yet. Okay, so that's point number 2, I guess.
You do have 5 minutes, so.
Okay, all right, I will rush through this. The other question I had is, in one of the items here, the event would be run in a professional manner. My question is, does that mean there'll be a manager on site or owner in case there's any issues? I don't know how they operate their other venue, which is a large venue in relationship to management. And then number C, special use shall not be hazardous to adjacent property values, involved uses. So one of the items even includes traffic, noise, smoke, fumes as not being affected by this. Noise, I don't see how you can put 50 or 100 people in a small building and on the roof. It's like having the idler parked right next to you, okay? It's going to be noisy. So what's the noise? Hours of operation again, how late? Are they going to be out on the roof till 2 in the morning? We think that's an issue. Lighting, as it was mentioned, there's no use so far of the lights, but are you going to have people up on the roof? Is it going to be lit up? Is there a hazard? I actually took some pictures of that roof, and we believe there's a hazard, and that hazard has to do with, Travis? can you show us kind of the, I took about 6 or 8 pictures of the roof. So what happens is, I said that this property shares a wall. So when you go up on the roof, which is from the alley, only about 4 feet high, I took a 6-foot ladder, went up 3 steps, I was on the roof. To me, that's a hazard right now. It's a attractive nuisance, actually, in my opinion. Can you bring them up? So anyway, there's a wall of the condo, and then there's a space of about 10 feet where our balcony is visible, okay? So the wall, so that's a look at our balcony, okay? And that stepladder at the end is 6 foot. So can you flip one more? Okay, so that's a 6-foot stepladder. That wall is the property of the condo, and that last unit is actually someone who is here tonight. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, so that's a wall on our side of the balcony. Next slide. This is a picture of the, let's go to the next one because, all right, this is the other side. There's no barriers on this roof except for the front, which has about a 3-foot railing. Next one, please. Okay, one more. Okay, so here is the opposite side of that 6-foot wall from the roof. So that little curb right there that has a sloping top on it with shingles to guide the water, and you can see it slopes. So this whole roof slopes about 2 feet back to the back end. This is the view that somebody from the roof would see, which is our balcony. If you go to the next one, and that's about 10 feet wide. One more. That's how I got up on the roof. Okay. Well, okay, you almost had it. One more. This is what you see from the roof looking into the windows of our condos. Okay. We certainly don't like that idea. Do I have another one on there? Okay. So my point is, looking at that, someone on the roof, if there was a family gathering up there, little toddlers, I've seen them run across to the water now as they get out of the car in the parking lot in front of us. What's going to stop them from trying to get over that little wall, that little curb, and fall head first onto the concrete below? Not much, in my opinion. And we don't really want people staring at our private space on the balcony or in our windows, for that matter. So, so that's probably the most important. I also question them having to add, or the possibility of having to add a small bathroom on the roof. It must be some kind of code that if you have more than 50 people in some area, you got to have a bathroom. That was sort of a red flag for me. Minimal improvements. Does adding a bathroom include, qualify as a minimal improvement? So we're worried about the noise. We're worried about the hazard. Parking. How do you park 100 people? Conservatively, 4 people in a car. That's probably a lot. That's 25 more cars. They're going to use that public parking lot in front of the condo right now. So I just think there's a lot of questions that haven't been answered. And maybe the young lady that's here tonight can answer some of those. Can you? I mean, do you want to?
Hey, please
Okay.
Please
All right.
direct your comments to the
Oh, I'm sorry.
chair.
I'm sorry. Okay. I'm done. Do you want to add anything? She's condo unit 6. She's the one where I took the picture of her front windows. So, yeah. Okay. I'll stop there. I'm sure I
Okay.
went over the 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Thanks
you.
again, Travis, for your help.
Anyone else?
My name's Alan Bachowska. I'm 424 Quaker. My primary concerns is the parking issue. When we got the notice, it was most representative to a private club. One of the things that a private club brings to the table is off-street parking. There is no room on the premise for that. And the other thing would be kind of like what he brought up, the noise issue. After 11 o'clock, 75 decibels, I think, is the city limit past property line. How is that going to be regulated, controlled? Is that something we have to just complain? Or, I mean, that would be my question. So parking and noise.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. Just one comment that I hadn't heard raised before is they had said the roof may be a gathering space. So with regard to noise, will there be music there? Because that could add to the noise level. And I believe they've already mentioned the safety issue. So thank you.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to close public hearing. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. If the petitioner would like to come back up and who has questions?
I guess you had mentioned being able to load and unload in front of the building. Now, there is a parking spot in front of the building, and if that's full, I think then you'd be parking in front of somebody else's commercial building with no parking signs on it. So you might want to make sure you coordinate with that building right next to the east. If you look at the photographs, they've got their little signs up there. So I would hate to see a couple of trucks there unloading when that business is trying to get out of their garage right there. I know you guys actually have a couple of parking spaces in the back, so I don't know if that's something you guys thought of on the alley. There's 2 parking spaces. At least it says parking for 420.
Hi.
Hi.
Nicole Slot. So the loading zone that you're talking about is actually right in front of our building in the front, so we should in theory be great, but we expect that.
The brown one is also yours?
No, it's not, but it's just to the right of it, so we should be able to drop off and park the trucks in the back.
Okay.
So it'll just be drop off and then at the end of the night, when they go to pack up and leave. So we'll talk with the Brown Butter to make sure
Yeah,
that
with
we're
the
good. Yeah,
bakery
yeah.
right there. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's something just to help, because otherwise, we just made to make sure to get traffic in and out of there
Yeah.
as you're doing that.
One thing to keep in mind with the loading, unloading, most of the catering type of facilities have more of a large van, maybe a small box truck, something like that. So we're not talking about semi or, very large vehicles either.
Yeah, I just know how congested it can get in that little area, but no, that's good. I walked that area a couple times just to check it out. Okay, that's all I've got right now.
Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Sure, Mike.
Can you address the roof situation? There is history to this property that developers had looked at it before, and we're talking about utilizing the roof as well. I wonder, after having heard some of the comments made, what plans do you have on the roof to make sure there's proper barriers? How much do you intend to utilize it?
So our intent right now is that it's a secondary space to the space below, but we want to make sure that it's utilized, that people can use it when they're in the space. We really would like to try to put a barrier in the area that's close to the condos that they were discussing earlier, so almost like a wall that's like a privacy wall, because what we don't want is for people to look into other people's facilities or where they live, and we also don't want to worry about someone accidentally falling. So we will also make sure that the areas in the front and the back, that we have the correct barriers per code so that we can have the right people up there, yeah.
Can you address why the bathroom on the roof?
Yes. So we wanted the opportunity to potentially look at the space upstairs and downstairs separately, and also if someone is ADA, they could come in through the side and use the restroom there versus trying to go all the way downstairs.
Thank you.
Yep.
question. How about the lighting up on the roof? You have a concept there?
Yeah, so we don't have a concept just yet, but it's really only ambient light. So we're not trying to go for spotlights or anything that would create a lot of light on that roof. So it would be something that would be more of an intimate gathering, so just so that people don't injure themselves while walking around. So safety lighting, I guess, would be the best way to say it.
Okay. And shielded from the sky,
What do you mean?
so that you're not lighting the sky.
Oh, yes, correct.
just
Yes,
the
it would be going
floor
down.
area.
Yes, correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I also have a question about the roof. It looks like it's just a membrane roof, not made for traffic. Will there be decking or improvements done up there to improve it so it's not, so they're not walking on roofing? Is it?
Yes, yep. Our intent is to make sure that it is, it's weight bearing, and then also it looks good. So we don't want it to just be the roof decking that's currently there. And we want to make sure that we can still have, water flow underneath it so that it's flowing off the building and it's not stationary on whatever we put there, so, yeah.
Okay.
The management of the building, how are you guys planning to do that? There's been some concerns from the neighbors
Yep.
about that. If the neighbors do have a concern, how and whom can they speak to?
Yep, it would be me or my brother. So my name's Nicole, my brother James. So we manage the facility at the barn right now. So our intent is to also manage this facility as well. And it's a family-run business, so if it's not the two of us, it'll be one of our other family members. Yep.
I have another question, may I? Or
Well,
somebody
unless
else?
somebody else.
I just have one, just a comment.
Yes.
So you're going to bring in 100 people, which is great. Are they going to know ahead that there's really no parking?
Yes,
that-
yep.
I'm worried
So-
that your Yelp rating is going to take a big hit, honestly, if you don't let them know.
So our intent behind it is that it's people that are booked with us already have a space that they can go and have a rehearsal dinner. So the feedback that we've gotten so far at the barn is that there's not enough restaurants that have the space to accommodate a 55 to 65 person event. So our intent is that they could continue to park at our facility and actually just shuttle over if they wanted to, so that the parking will be slightly impacted, but not to the extent where every single person is going to be parking by the building.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Of course, the 100 is dependent on what the fire marshal says.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's why we put the range in there, because we want to make sure that we're following code, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
We don't enforce that.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. My other question got, hours of operation.
So we haven't landed on that yet. Our goal is that since we're in the central business district, that it's whatever the other businesses are doing, so whatever the other restaurants are doing as well. The reason is because some of our events are going to be a birthday party that could potentially be at 10 o'clock in the morning, or it could be a rehearsal dinner that'll start later in the evening. So we don't want to put any hours on it right now. We'd like it to be whatever the restaurants are in the area.
Okay. You might be open, though, to a suggestion of being finished by 12, 11.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Yep.
All right.
Any other questions? No?
I guess that is the difference to me between why we'd classify it as a restaurant as opposed to a meeting place, because I know we have considered other meeting places that have come before us and set limits on hours of operation because of the noise. And I would want to have that flexibility as a commission. I'm also aware of your neighbors that you'd have. We have the Elk Club, we have the Yacht Club. You're certainly going to hear the noise from Captain Lou's. I mean, it's not, I don't think we'd be significantly adding to the decibels in that area already.
Right.
But that is something to consider, whether you would consider guidance on hours of operation, especially when it comes to things like music.
Of course, yep.
Yeah, when I first looked at this and saw the pictures that some of the neighbors provided, I thought, well, if they own the building, I don't know if they do or not, they could build another story on this building, or two, I think. And then I thought about, well, they could screen it. It is not, to me, cut and dry, because it's an open space with a residential wall right there, and the space is not happening within the walls, within walls. It's just happening out in the open air next to a residential building. We talk about the Elks or the South Haven Yacht Club or something. There's nobody living right next door to those. There might be, but again, there's a block wall between, a brick wall between those. And I don't wonder if there's any precedent downtown. I was trying to think of one where it's open to the public till 2 o'clock in the morning. It's not something I have any experience with.
I guess what compounds the issue for me is that's a difficult piece of property. The uses for that, it's a long and narrow building. It's been on the market for quite a while. There's been a couple concepts that have been tried there that didn't go very far. So I think in terms of economic development, if a suitable plan could come up that would be okay with the neighbors, it's a great project in my eyes.
And just looking at this satellite photo, you can see the building to the west of it, how tall it is, because it just overshadows the entire roof.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Just from my experience, I have been on that roof. I was a little bit involved in one of the proposed developments before. And the beauty of that roof is it has an outstanding view of the river. And that's the attraction for, it never went anywhere, but one of the developers that was looking at it before, that was one of the big selling points, is they'd be able to have tables up there and dining for people to be able to watch the river. So. And not the condos.
Can I ask staff a question?
Sure.
Just to be clear, if they were to decide to utilize that space up there, there's probably some kind of building code that they would just follow with regards to railings, because we talk about it, but they're going to put up railings right off the bat, because they're going to look at it and go, we need to do something. And there's probably something in code with regards to that. Could we also add something additional on the special use with regards to a privacy wall on one side? Is that permissible within an approval?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's why I mentioned the shadow, because I was thinking that maybe they'd want to erect like shade cloths, the sails. And that would be part of the height consideration,
That
right?
would be the height consideration. Well, I certainly would think, if they're going to utilize that space, they're going to build something. I've seen their other development. They put thought and care into other projects. I would hope that they would do the same, and I'm glad that the condo complex have come forward with regards to things to think about, and when you're staring into someone else's potentially unit, I don't think the developers want that to happen either, because they want a little privacy up there for their patrons as well. So maybe, putting some kind of privacy wall within the approval on at least the west side to give some help to, being able to see down that walkway. Then, both can live there at the same time and do their thing, because I think it's a unique project. Other than the Yelp rating, I think that was my
I was worried.
That was my joke I wrote.
I know, I stole it from you, sorry.
But great plan if your folks are going to be out there and come in here with that. So that would be my only.
Okay. Anyone else? Any more questions for them? No?
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time. Is there a motion forthcoming?
Well, we do have a staff recommendation here with 3 points in it. I also mentioned something of a privacy wall to the west. does staff have a recommendation with regards to what would be considered within the ordinance the right size of that wall? Is 6 foot the proper term of a privacy wall? I don't want to go outside our own ordinance. Or is that something
In the
we can do in this
CBD,
particular
It's different
situation?
than like the residential, because residential, you deal with the 4 foot and the 6 foot, right? Depending on where it's located to a structure. CBD, I'd have to pull the book out and look. But I don't think there is a fence, like, other than 6 foot, do you remember?
I don't know. We're also talking about on the roof,
No higher
right?
than 6, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if there is one spell out in the CBD. Nick, maybe you could answer this. I would think you could still condition that be constructed to the standard or to the requirements of the zoning ordinance, to any applicable requirement. I would think that would likely then cover whatever.
I would think so too. Are we talking about on the roof itself?
Yeah, that would be a separation then as patrons are on the roof and condo owners are utilizing their space.
Right.
That there's just a separation between the two. This is not going to be a lot. Noise is going to at some point waft up and over, but at least there's that visual barrier between, people's windows. And all of a sudden now there's a large party right outside their window.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if there's a applicable regulation that applies to a fence on a roof. It's just an unusual circumstance. But I think the verbiage Travis suggested would be good.
Because you'd have to set the height, right? And 6 foot's not high enough in this situation.
I'm only 5'7".
Applicant had his hand up.
Well, the world wasn't made for you.
Yeah, I can see over your
Yeah,
fence.
you can.
Jim, applicant had his hand up.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Please-
a construction.
Please come up to
You're-
the
you go.
podium.
You're over 6 foot. You go ahead and give us your.
Yeah, so in this case, if the ordinance were to be less than 6 foot, we would like it to be at least 6 foot. So for us, we view this as a positive thing. But if it were lower, we want to make sure that from this board, we at least get to 6 foot.
We're going to have to check that one.
Well, we can also just provide it to work with staff. At the staff level, they can work with that. As long as they know the goal is to have a privacy fence at, at least a maximum level that they potentially could have. And they're looking at it from the same perspective too, because they want, there's not a view at the condo, the view's out front. And that's really the goal of the additional upstairs space. And the condo unit just doesn't want people suddenly staring into them. And I can see why. The other areas have a wall between the two businesses. This is just going to be open area at that point. Does anyone else have anything else?
So when you talk privacy fence, you're talking west wall only,
The west wall,
and the entire length of the wall?
I would probably say,
To the tower, to the back of the tower. There's the gap for the porches, and then there's a tower that is a stairway.
and what about windows
Yeah.
on that side?
Yeah, I think it's hard for us to say how big it's got to be, how long it's got to be. I think we all grasp the intent here is to provide privacy to the condo.
Right.
Especially visual privacy. And I would hope that we could get the measurements that says it's got to be this tall and this long.
Well, and if we give the approval such that staff can work with the developer to make sure that we've got the height and length that has at least covering windows on that side, if there are in fact windows into somebody's kitchen or whatever on the second floor, and they can look directly into it.
Sorry, Clark.
Just to allow that to happen.
And I think that's what I heard from the developers. say
That
that's
seems the
their
intent
as
of
well.
everybody. We're lucky at this point in time, there is someone from the condo complex, if we wanted to bring them back up and make a statement.
Well, no, I don't think that's necessary. I'm just
Okay.
trying to
Okay.
see where you guys are going, so when this motion's made, I have the bullet points.
Okay.
I have a procedural question. This is a special use permit application. Do we then is there a step beyond that, or do they come back with something resembling a site plan, or what's the next step?
So normally, a special use application would kind of go hand in hand with site plan review. The difference sort of with this one is that they're not proposing any significant alterations to the current structure. And so that's why generally you can consider the site plan standards as having been met. Really, they're using exactly what's there right now, so.
I guess I would reply, we're up here talking about a significant change, maybe some sort of wall or partial wall, fencing, decking, bathrooms. At what point is it not significant? Is it beyond, insignificant? You know what I mean?
I would say, Nick, and you might be able to help me, to my knowledge, the information about the decking or the potential changes on the rooftop was just brought to the commission's attention tonight. And like I said, Nick, you can help me. I would think if the planning commission desires to see further details of the plans and would wish to hold off on a decision until that information is available, is that something that they can do?
You could table this item and wait for additional drawings or something of the wall to be done. You could do an approval contingent on approval of a site plan if you wanted to see a full site plan. Or you could do something like, I think what you were describing, just placing a condition on the approval, saying of a sufficient height and width to sufficiently screen from adjoining properties as determined by the zoning administrator or something. So that at that point, it wouldn't come back to the planning commission, but we'd have parameters set for administrative approval of the wall itself. So I think there's a number of different ways to handle this.
If we went that way, with the approval contingent upon that, would they be allowed to continue their work to improve the property? I mean, that's the only thing I'm worried about, is if we hold this off until the next meeting, I don't know how aggressive they are with their plans to convert this thing, whether you're hoping to get this thing open in September, or whether you're looking at next year.
If it's not approved tonight, then they wouldn't be able to get a building permit to do any work. To the extent they need a building permit, I mean, some things you can do interiorly, they don't need one.
But that's why I wondered about the approval with contingency.
That would be fine. They could proceed, and they would not be able to get their certificate of occupancy until they got that sign off from the zoning administrator. So if timing is an issue, that is an option that's probably be best from their perspective.
You have a birthday party you're going to RSVP there?
One coming up, Tim, if you need a reminder.
Well, may I?
Yeah.
This is for your benefit, but I'm going to talk to the chair. It seems as though there seems to be consensus here, and you folks were nodding your head, that we're looking for specific hours of operation. I think we're talking about what the roof. All we're talking about here is the roof, what goes on downstairs. Would you be interested in some restricting hours and music on the roof? What would a wall look like? What would the bathroom outside look like? Imagine yourself living in the condo next door, expensive condominiums that folks bought to overlook the river. What would it be like to have an outdoor party, commercial outdoor party going on next to your condominium? So I guess hours, music, privacy, and some sort of sound plan. That's what I heard up here. And it's kind of complicated to put into a motion, but.
Complicated business.
Okay.
We have a recommendation with, 3 points. We can just add a couple more points and then let that go, because, I certainly am in favor. I just wanted a couple of things in there so they can get going on their project. And at the same time, we're hopefully being respectful to the neighbors as well to put this together this way with some of the concerns that they have. But it actually seems like would be fairly normal into this little project. Who wants to stare at a condo and there's going to be railing and what have you, and hours. We've talked about that too with the Maritime Museum. What type of hours, although not in the central business district,
Not in the central business.
not in the central business district, and that's something to think about. But, you know,
The last one we had was the yacht club. Correct. And no restrictions were placed on that. So just as a reminder.
I'm not terribly concerned about the hours. This is kind of a secondary location. The most of their operation is going to be on the first floor. So I don't think that's going to create an awful lot of noise on the roof. So,
and there's ordinance against that too, if it did get out of hand.
There is the ordinance there
Exactly.
that, so.
That is the other thing to remember too, is obviously the noise ordinance applies to everyone universally. So when you're talking about a small parcel like this, I mean, it's fairly restrictive, so.
You ready for a motion?
Any time.
I move that
there was
we approve the special land use application for 420 Quaker Street, subject to the 3 items in the staff report on page 264, plus item number 4, which would be construction of a privacy wall to screen the condos to the west, to be worked out with the planning staff.
Okay.
Support?
All right, it's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Is it necessary? One second.
Yeah.
It was, Larry, earlier you had mentioned lights. Do you think there's any necessity to spell that out any?
No, I don't feel any need to spell that out any further.
Okay.
Well, I thought I saw someone with an additional comment out.
We're done with public hearing. Sorry.
That's the rookie in me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to be supporting this. Again, I try to imagine myself having bought an expensive condominium right next to it. And I think we ought to have drawings of, are we going to have music out there, what time? There were no lights mentioned, and there were lights mentioned. To me, this is a significant change of use. Whether it's allowed, I went through the comments, and and the folks seem, they're shaking their head a lot, and I think we're in a position, I'm not sure if we are in a position to ask these things and ask for specifics. I think we are. I think we should ask, can you retire, can the party move inside at midnight? I don't know, if those are things that we can request specifically for a rooftop venue. It's, again, there doesn't seem to be any precedent or any specifics in the ordinance that staff, can you address what I'm?
They're not regulated right now in our ordinance. So we're kind of, at a position where I think any stipulations that the planning commission would like to see on it would have to be implemented here tonight.
And Todd, I think you're going to see, we've seen this, and you're going to continue to see this, is we've had a lot of zoning change in the city. I mean, the north side where a lot of the condominiums are, that used to be commercial district. And you kind of look historically, you've had residential encroachment on other types of zoning. And as the city's making big efforts to put people as maybe full-time residents in the downtown, you have to realize it is the CBD, and it's not a residential zoning. So I think people have to have their eyes wide open when they say, I'm going to live in the heart of South Haven in the downtown, and expect that there's going to be noise. There's going to be delivery trucks in the morning to some of the businesses. I mean, you look at the bakery, they're operating at, midnight to 6 a.m. And so I think you have to, even though we want to give residents their priorities, at some point with the CBD, is the business more important, or is the resident, are they both equal? That's always the dilemma.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. All right, we've had a motion, it's been supported. Any other continuing discussion on this? No? Okay, and I did hear your comment, so Marcia, if you would, please call the roll.
Hanny,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Gruber,
Yes.
Heinig,
Yes.
Heinrich,
No.
Neese,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Barney, I'm sorry, Stegman.
Yes. Okay. That ends our regular business. Now we're on the commission member and staff comments. Staff.
Only comment tonight is I've spoken with Todd, Mike, and Larry, I think, about the workshop to discuss shoreline protection projects. Looking at doing that before the September meeting, so immediately before, likely at 6 o'clock, unless anybody thinks we need more than an hour. But if not, we'll look to do it at 6. And if for some reason we don't cover all the ground that night, we could go with an additional meeting as well. So if that works for everyone, that's what we'll plan on doing. Other than that, I have no other comments.
Okay.
Appreciate everyone's work on a really busy meeting, but I have no comments. Thank you.
Okay. Mike?
Just to thank you again to the staff, Travis and staff. I was a bit shaken up a little bit when I saw we had 295-page packet this month, but I had nothing to read otherwise, but it was well worth reading, and you present the case very well, so thank you for your work you do.
Thank you to everyone who came tonight and gave us feedback and comments. It's much appreciated.
Not only thanks to staff, but thanks to fellow commissioners. You all did a lot of work to get prepared for this, and that's appreciated.
Is our timer working?
No.
No, we need to make sure we come up with a good plan, just to be consistent for everybody. I would love to see that come back. We have more time because of me. I made that motion and pushed that, and I didn't plan it to be that long. I apologize. And then, with regards to comments concerning our last meeting, I think our chairman and our vice chair and the rest of us do a really good job with the meeting and how you handle yourselves, transparency, and being a part of the community. And I just want to thank you both.
Yeah, good meeting, a lot to go through, a lot of what seemed to be overlapping things going on this agenda that sometimes bring clarity to the different things that are being proposed. Appreciate the kindness for dissenters. And to staff, when I open up a 285-page packet and start going through it, and I realize that, you don't have infinite amounts of time to go through this, and, I see a cash receipt from something from 5 or 10 years ago, and I know it just takes time to go through and take that kind of stuff out if you wanted to, and you have limited time and resources, and so I do appreciate you getting all the information to us, and in as digestible way as you can. I'm sure that you could massage the wording on a lot of your staff notes forever, and try to be consistent from paragraph to page to chapter. It's a lot to do with limited resources. There is something I was thinking. I often go out and look at different ordinances, and then when I looked at Oak Park last month. This is a town that has, I can't remember, has 50,000 people, but they have a budget that's 20 or 30 times our budget, and probably 5 employees that do your job, and they have 2 city attorneys that are full-time, and even though we have limited resources. We have, 4,500 people, and the tax base that goes along with that. We do a lot with a little, and I know we ask you all to do a lot with limited resources. Thank you. So.
Well, yes, ditto everything. Thank you, guys. I will take back the eye rolling when I opened the 285-page packet because it was really good. It was just like, okay, we're going to really, it was everything that we had asked for. So thank you for that, and then more. So I just make my apologies for the eye roll. It's fun to have dissenters. It's nice. I think it's good that we can all have this conversation and not always have to agree on everything. And so I just think it's really cool to have different opinions. So thank you all for everything. That's it.
Thank you. I appreciate all the hard work, but I'm not taking back my eye roll.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your time. Obviously, staff, especially the forwarding of all the communication. That's above and beyond every time the agenda packet comes out. So really, your 285 pages was a lot more than that.
Yep.
Because what came in the last couple of days still has to be added to this. So
And there were a lot of pictures.
a lot of pictures. Mm-hmm. Now, unfortunately, the one group left there, the last petitioner, I wanted to ask them, I think their building might have been the old mortuary back in the 1800s, maybe. But I think it was in that area. So there's I always try to give you a little South Haven history.
So they may have some unintended guests after midnight?
Might offer a good name for the place, right?
Wait, what? Yeah.
All right, next meeting is September 2nd, I believe.
I believe it's the 6th. Let me take a look at the
6th.
calendar here. I'm sorry, it'll be the 7th, Tuesday, the 7th.
Be the 7th.
Yep.
Tuesday.
Nope. Or, I'm sorry, I'm thinking city council schedule. I'm sorry.
I think it's
It
September
would be the
2nd.
2nd, you're correct.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. And what's our next set that Brad's going to bring forth?
I'll have to talk to him about it. It'll probably just be the next two items on that list, but I'll talk to him about what he's planning to bring.
All right, that
next
way
meeting.
I get studied on, some of those early on.
Tim, before you close here, can I just make one more comment too? I distributed that floor plan to everyone. I neglected to put that in the packet, that floor plan, or the current floor plan of 420 Quaker Street. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone from the public understands that is also in there. We'll be adding that tomorrow as an addendum to the packet so that it goes into the record, so.
Okay, very, very good. All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
It's been moved and supported to adjourn. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned until September 2nd.